Just like men, most women have no idea the things that men notice in a woman. And because of that, you'll have a woman working her whole life to improve this body part, to improve this, and to improve that, without realizing that most men don't care about that. This is why you see women who look less attractive than you getting the men that you want. This is why you see women who may not be stereotypically what society finds attractive, but somehow she's able to get the guys, and having this disconnect is the reason why most women have short-term relationships that don't get past 1 month, for the simple fact that they're presenting themselves the wrong way. They think men are looking at this and noticing this. Most likely what you think men like is just a projection of your own insecurities. Men don't look for a perfect woman. We don't need you to be a 10 out of 10. But we do need you to have certain traits that we all look out for, evolutionarily speaking. Men are wired to look out for this. That if you possess, we will value you. We will have a hard time replacing you. We will chase. And that is truly the difference between finding the love of your life and finding short-term relationships that leave you feeling empty inside. So today we're gonna talk about what are those things so that you can finally work on the things that truly matter. And if you guys want more insight onto this and you guys wanna work with me one-on-one, you could just click on the description down below where it says work with Father Alex, so that I don't have to close the channel. And I also have a special going on that if you purchase a 15-minute session with me or more, you guys can get access to my course, The Psychological Game of Attraction, for free. It's a course that I made for women who are single and for women who want to learn how to regain their powers in the dating world. And you have access to that course for your whole lifetime. All right, so just click on the description down below and I'll see you guys inside, and let's begin with the first one is your confidence. All right, how you carry yourself. And this is shown through your non-verbal cues. How you walk, how you respond, right? The look of anxiety in your eyes, how quick you respond, how fidgety your movement is, how open your body language is, but also equally important, how closed your body language is. And this is something that's very hard to fake because the self is always coming through. It's very hard to fake confidence. If you try to fake it, it'll look like you don't have confidence. It's one of those things that if you're not confident, the quickest way to become confident is to accept that you're not confident and to not try to act any other way than how you naturally act. That will emanate an authenticity that will add a sense of confidence to your awkwardness, right? People are really comfortable around people who are comfortable being themselves. But when you don't like the fact that you're not confident, you're going to give off that body language that you're not at ease with yourself. And a man will sense that, and they'll sense it as weakness. When people sense weakness, human nature dictates that they become more aggressive. The reason why is because they're testing whether or not the weakness you're emanating is true, whether or not your weakness is something that they can take advantage of, right? Unfortunately, what people have to understand is that humans are really good at sniffing out weak and people who don't have confidence. And the sad part about this is that usually hyper aggressive men, people who are toxic, have a keen sense for weakness. And this is why it's so important to learn how to emanate strength, because the only ones that will notice your weakness are the men who are toxic and who are there to take advantage of you. Some men don't love you. They only love the power that the dynamics gives them. And that's why when they sense confidence in you, a lot of these guys will walk away. And if you don't have high self-esteem, you're gonna assume your confidence is what made them lose interest. And you will artificially lower your confidence just to get their validation. The next one is how you talk about your friends and family, right? If you're someone that talks negatively about people, people will judge you and they'll sense a negative energy coming from. You can never gain any cool points. Talking bad about people will always make you look worse. Doesn't matter whether or not you're right or wrong. Complaining about people will always make you look like the bad person, even if you're right or wrong. Most guys will see that as a red flag. If you talk, it means you're dramatic. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It just means you're dramatic, right? The next one is whether or not you're wifey material or if you're for the streets. And that is just a very superficial judgment. There are two ways that guys judge you on that. How you look, and then the first few minutes of the interaction. A guy can sense if you're from the streets more by your behavior than how you dress. I remember this one girl that I fucked up. I was the one that ruined it. because she was a really sweet person. But what's funny is that when you looked at her, she looked like she was like a gothic chick who did a lot of drugs. You know what I mean? Like that look, a lot of tattoos. Anyway, and yo, like I remember being with her. The first few seconds of meeting her, I sensed that she was not how I thought she was, and the reason was because of the way she talked and how she looked at me. There was a sweetness to her voice, a softness and a warmth, the way that she spoke, that just made me so relaxed around her. The next thing is how she looked at me. She looked at me like that Leonardo da Vinci painting where the mom is looking at Leonardo and she's looking at him with like a sweet, relaxed face. That was like a motherly trait. She looked like she was for the streets. Her nonverbal cues, the way she talked was for the kitchen, for the home, right? She was this sweet and just, you could just feel like you could open up around her. And I remember it validated me what I believed, because like I would try to keep it casual, but she had boundaries, and the way that she set her boundaries in a very sweet and warm way. She didn't go Bronx mode on me. She did it in a happy, relaxed, and warm way. And that to me showed me that she was wifey material, because no chick that's toxic will talk or look at you that way. There's a certain twitchiness, anxiety, or intense excitement that you see when somebody's not toxic and have wifey material vibe. There's a certain softness, sweetness, motherly sensation that they give you. So if you have Bronx mode voice, guys will judge you on that. A guy will always prefer softness, sweetness. In New York City, Jesus Christ, these girls in New York City are wild. Like in New York City, you'll walk by, see this really beautiful girl, but she talks like, nigga, please, I ain't doing that shit, motherfucker. That bitch gonna know who I am. When you see that, you don't say, oh my God, I want to be with her. Like you be like, yo, you better not slash my tires, right? And that is an aggressive energy. Your aggressive energy, which comes down to the next point. Men prefer women with feminine energy. Right? Now, the guys that prefer women with masculine energy, a lot of the times, those are not the guys you usually want to date, because they usually are very submissive, right? So if you would prefer a guy for a long-term relationship, it's highly advisable to go with guys who prefer feminine energy in a woman. So if you're masculine in a woman, I promise you will struggle with dating. They prefer women with feminine energy, right? Now, the next one is how positive you are. Nobody likes to be with someone who's always complaining. You gotta understand, we're gonna conversate with you for a very long time. And negative mindsets is very infectious. It rubs off on you. And unfortunately, if you're very negative, the only types of guys you're going to attract are negative men. Men who have that same energy. Men who are positive and who see the world through a positive lens are not going to want to be with your ass. They're going to just want to leave you, because it's stressful being negative. But when you're negative, negativity loves company. So unfortunately, if your partners are all negative, most likely you're also negative yourself. Why? Because your attitude matters with men more than women like to imagine, right? It does matter with guys. And if your attitude is not a priority for him, then guess what? You don't want to be with that type of. You want someone who has higher standards than that. Now, the next one is how traumatized you are. A guy can sense trauma, especially highly manipulative men. Men who are toxic, men who take advantage of people, have a keen eye and a sense for people who are mentally weak, mentally traumatized. And like I said, this is something that unfortunately you can't fake this, right? And it's always coming through. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how confident you try to act. It's always gonna come through. Your traumas will come through. What you don't want to be able to do is just act like you don't have any traumas, right? Also, you don't want to just reveal all of your traumas, because being honest is the best policy. No. Like, unfortunately, you gotta learn how to hide your flaws in the beginning. That's actually a real thing, right? If you can't control hiding your flaws, being able to hide your flaw is a bigger flaw than having flaws, because everyone has flaws. It's just some people know how to control how they show it to people. If you can't control it, then that means there's bigger things going on that you need fixing. A man who wants to manipulate you will look for trauma in a woman and will prefer to stay with her. A man who's not trying to manipulate you will see your trauma, and unfortunately for some people, they're not going to want to deal with you. They're not going to want to deal with you, unfortunately, if they notice that you have some real problem. They're not. And honestly, I don't want to go too much into that, because it sounds like, because I know a lot of people legit have problems, and they can't help it, right? But, we got to work on what we could work on, unfortunately. Like me, I have my own traumas, right? But I try to fix it, right? I I do extreme things, and that's all that matters, is that you're flawed, but you don't blame other people for your own problems, but also you haven't given up in trying to fix it. You know, that's what matters with people. The next one is how naive you are. Ladies and gentlemen, naivete is one of those things that attracts predator, like honey attracts bears, ladies and gentlemen. If you are naive, which usually are people who are, these are the things, very romantic people, right? Idealized people, people who have strong fantasies, but also people who have a deep desire for something, right? Deep desire for things causes you to get blind. When you want something so badly, you forget the red flags. Usually these people are very forgiving, really honest. They walk around with their hearts open, tell people what they feel, and they're very forgiving. And that comes across as naive. I tell you I'm not gonna cheat on you again, and you believe me like a dumbass. You gotta remember, people never do things just once. If you just apply this one thought, this one strategy, understanding that people never do things just once, it'll make being gullible a little bit more manageable, right? It'll make it a tiny bit more manageable, your gullibility. But unfortunately, when you believe that people, they never do things just once, but also they could change their behavior, there's nothing wrong with believing that people change their behavior. I just want you to have to prove you wrong. Believe that people don't change. And have them prove you wrong. That should be the standard. It should be, those standards should be high. The next one is how you treat others, all right? And that comes down waitresses, kids, animals, people below you, right? People who depend on you, right? Random homeless people, like just anyone you see in the daily life, men notice how you treat them. And if somebody wants a long-term relationship and you're an asshole to the fucking waitress, or you're an asshole to the doctor, or you're an asshole to somebody below you, we're gonna notice that. We're gonna notice that type of stuff, right? Yeah, we're gonna notice that type of stuff big time. And that's why, like, if you treat people badly, I can promise you, you're losing points. Now, the next one is how different you look in person. All right, now this one, I'm gonna give you guys a story. Let me type it right. The wheelchair story. All right. I remember when I first started using Tinder, I matched with this girl and she had a really pretty face. And I saw her photo and I was like, oh my God, she's cute. Let me go out with her. So I went on a date. I did not look at the last photo because when I was there, she told me she was waiting outside and there were two people waiting outside. A big old black guy, Lord have mercy, and a girl in a wheelchair. I was like, this is a dilemma because none of these choices are good. I was trying to get close. I was like, is that her? Get the fuck out of here. And when I looked at the photo, the last photo, she was in a wheelchair. First of all, make sure that's your first photo, all right? Make sure that's the first photo. Second of all, I should have looked at the last photo. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Maybe I saw her sitting, or maybe I didn't assume she was in a wheelchair. I was like, yo, Lord, forgive your child. Because I have sinned, blocked her ass, and walked home, man. To this day, I feel bad. Because 100%, she went home. Her parents were like, oh my God, baby, how was your date with that morenazo? She's like, nah, he didn't come. Or maybe she stayed a little bit longer just to give the impression that I didn't flake, you know? And unfortunately for her, 100% she felt like shit. And needless to say, if you don't look like your photo from the start, a guy will notice that. He'll be like, all right, this chick don't look like her photo, right? And guys, because almost anyone don't like to be clickbaited, but I remember one time this girl got me so good. I went on a date with her, and on the date, as soon as I saw her, I was like, fuck, man, it's some bullshit, right? Went on a date, I'm a nice guy, right? So I went out, I enjoyed my time with her, and I told myself, that's the last time I go out with that chick, right? A few months later, I'm scrolling through my WhatsApp, and I'm like, yo, who is this girl? I was like, hey girl, how did I not ask you out again? She's like, I don't know, let's hang out. And I was like, sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it was the same girl again. And when I saw her, I was like, fuck, again? You fucking kidding me, man? Like, how did I get clickbaited twice in a row? Wow, this shit, man, honestly. She should work at a fucking movie costume, please. Because it was legit magical how she did that, right? Legit magical, right? Now, the next one is how out versus introverted you are, right? An extroverted guy's point of view, it's threatening. It increases the likelihood of cheating. That's just how it is, unfortunately. And for long-term relationships, they'll prefer to go after more for introverted women. And don't get me wrong, extroverted women are really fun. I mean, I'm extroverted too, so when it comes to that, yeah, 100%. But most guys are insecure, and if you have too many friends, guys unfortunately prefer a woman who doesn't have as many friends, right? Well, for one, she got less support. So if he breaks up with her, she might come back a little bit more if she doesn't have friends. But the extroverted girls can be more independent and less dependent on the man, and guys may not like that as much, right? The last one is your conversational skills is so crucial. If you suck at having conversations, you'll come across as way too superficial. Men prefer a woman who can have a decent conversation with you. I remember one time, this girl, honestly, one of the most, in terms of like how she looked, she was genuinely one of those women who, when I looked at her, it felt hypnotic. It really did. But when I was with her, she was always on her phone. And what do you think of this photo? Oh my God, how sexy I look. Look, Alex. I'm like, bitch, I don't care. You're here. What the fuck? I don't care about looking at your online version of yourself. And most of the interaction was just her talking about herself. And it made me, honestly, it sounds condescending, but it made me feel like she was dumb. Because she just couldn't come up with any topic that wasn't about her. That wasn't about how she looked. A few years later, I look back at her Instagram and she just looks different. She has a bunch of plastic surgery, which pisses me off that the two most beautiful women I've seen superficially are the ones that ended up getting the most plastic surgery. What in the fuck is that? I mean, what type of joke is that this God is doing on us, right? Pissed me off when I saw how much plastic surgery she used. And it's funny, I saw the shallowness way before that. And the shallowness was because she just couldn't stop talking about herself. You know, when I was around her, she would never ask anything about me. She was not curious about other than it being related to her, right? And that is, if you're gonna be with someone who enjoys healthy relationships, they're gonna see that as a red flag, and they're not gonna want to be around you. Because for a long-term relationship, you need to be able to have a conversation with them. Like, you need to be able to laugh about certain things and have a good sense of humor, right? Which comes down to the next point. Now, you don't have to be a comedian, but having a sense of humor, that's a plus. It's a plus, right? It's like a girl with a nice face, right? She has a nice face, but she got big old bitties, all of a sudden that's a plus. It's not necessary, but it's a plus, right? Being funny, being humorous, is not just the fact that you make me laugh. It's the fact that you know how to deal with difficult things. Having a sense of humor is it's like the liver system of the body. When you have a sense of humor, you're able to deal with negativity way better than somebody who doesn't have a sense of humor. Especially if you have a dark sense of humor, right? Having a sense of humor is like a good liver for drinking, people. If you have a shitty sense of humor, you're not going to be fun to be around with. You don't have to laugh. You just have to be able to laugh about the things that you might consider offensive. Being able not to be so politically correct. Being able to laugh at the golden cows of your culture. Not be so sensitive about topics, right? When I'm with a woman and I know I can't joke around about politics with you, because I will offend you. If you can't joke around about things that you consider to be sacred, but generally speaking, you gotta be able to laugh about yourself a little bit more, right? And that to me shows confidence, somebody who's able to laugh about the things that they value. And it shows that you're able to handle and deal with negative emotions, right? Now, these are the things, if you guys know other things that want to include about what are the things that men notice about you that you may not be aware of, let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, go to mindfulattraction.org. And if you guys enjoy this type of video, then check out my course, The Feminine Woman. It's a course that I created that allows women to embrace their masculine and feminine energy without being taken advantage of. It's a way to blend your feminine energy so that it comes across as strong, because too many women try to be feminine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just comes across too weak. You need the masculine side. It's why some women can be feminine and not be taken advantage of, and why some women can be feminine and be complete doormats. That by that point, your femininity is counterproductive, right? So this course is all about how to gain people's respect with your feminine side and your masculine side, how to use your masculine energy to achieve your goals, but Also, how to use your feminine energy to put people at ease, to influence them. You can click on the description down below to purchase that course. I also have the psychological game of attraction, which is available for those who purchase with one-on-one session, and the natural chemistry, which is a course that I created for women who are in relationships and who want to learn how to have strong boundaries so that the love that the guy has for you is not just superficial, but it also grounded in respect. You can click down in the description down below. I also have a bundle where you can purchase all of my courses at a highly discounted rate, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you get access to my courses for your whole life, people. Yeah, that's right. So I'll see you guys inside, and take care. Bye-bye.